Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good night, everyone. PLO Lumumba has sent a standing warning to Israel while blaming Hamas for starting a war that they could not manage. Let's watch this, and then after this, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, and make sure that most of the people in Africa get to see this message. It's a message that could help everyone in Africa understand politics better, politics and business better.
We must ask ourselves, what was the original sin? The situation pitting the Israelis and the Palestinians is one that does not lend itself to simplistic answers. It is complex. It is complex, and we have seen it being dealt with in different ways over the years. Those who are objective agree that the best way to address the problem is through the two-state solution. And the two-state solution was a proposal that came out of the negotiation that took place in Oslo, Norway. It was thought at that time that the two parties, namely the Israelis and the Palestinians, would then sit down and agree to ensure that you would have an independent Israeli state which exists since 1948 and have a separate Palestinian state which would exist side by side with the Israeli state. But it has not been easy, because within the Israeli government, there are those who hold the view that the Palestinian state should not exist. And within Palestine, there are those who hold the view that Israel should not exist. So how do you reconcile these two extreme positions? And if you look to the history, people like Yasser Arafat, who was the leader of the Fatah function of what was called the Palestinian Liberation Organization, of the PLO, over time accepted that you could not eliminate the state of Israel. But there are extremists whose clarion call is that we must eliminate Israel. And you see that not only within the states, like Iran, which says, kill the Americans, kill the Israelis, like Hamas, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, like the Houthis in Yemen. That is their clarion call. And in such a situation, Israel is always on the defensive. So going forward, one must then agree that in order to ensure that sustainable peace is achieved, the only thing that we must do as the rest of the world is to midwife a two-state solution. Easier said than done because of the extremists, but I believe that the solution lies in the middle. And the United Nations, in my view, has not played its role as it should have. The Arab League has not played its role as it should have. The Americans, to the extent that they cast their lot with the Israelis, have also in many ways stood in the path of this particular realization. And it is time now that the world must speak with one voice, demanding only one thing: two-state solution. Two-state solution. And that, in the nature of things, will calm down the temperatures and allow the two states to exist side by side in accordance with internationally accepted laws. You know, one of the things that we must say, and say categorically, is that what happened on the 7th day of October, the year 2023, is or was unacceptable. It was wrong for Hamas to do what they did. But it is incumbent upon a state, and Israel is a state that was one of the first signatories, if not the first signatory, of the Genocide Convention in 1948. And they did so because the Jews over the years have suffered discrimination. They suffered discrimination in Spain. They suffered discrimination in Germany, and we remember the Holocaust. So that holding all factors constant, if there is a single nation on earth that should ensure that lives are protected, that the crime of genocide is not perpetrated against any peoples on the ground of their nationality or religion, it is the Israelis. It therefore beggars belief and defeats reason when you listen to senior Israeli government officials, right from the president. President Herzog is on record and is considered to be one of the more moderate Israelis, is on record as saying, we are dealing with human animals and we are not going to spare any of them. There is no non-military target in Gaza. In other words, women who are non-combatants are targets. Children are targets. The fighters themselves are targets. Hospitals are targets. The Israeli defense minister gleefully said they will have no fuel, no water, no food. And one even went to the Bible in the book of Samuel and said, just like God ordered that the Amalekites be eliminated, so shall we eliminate the Palestinians in Gaza, that no human being may ever live in Gaza again. Against that background, the reference by the Republic of South Africa to the International Court of Justice is decent, it is understandable, it is acceptable. I've read and reread the 84-page document. It is one of the most well-prepared documentation presenting evidence of what constitutes the crime of genocide. And I believe that all men and women of goodwill throughout the world should support that reference, because that is what international community ought to do in a civilized way, in ways that are recognized and acceptable by the Committee of Nations.
In this case, you can see that Lumumba is happy that South Africa took the decision of forwarding Israel to the ICJ, and that the ICJ or that accepted that Israel is wrong, despite that it did not start the war. That Hamas started the war, but the ICJ has decided that Israel should stop the war or do in all necessary means try to make sure that they don't kill children, women, and whoever is not involved in the war. That means that Israeli soldiers should only fight with the Palestinian soldiers and the Hamas crew that is fighting the Israeli, and should not fight with the civilians. Thank you for watching, and make sure that you subscribe.